So Raquel, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to hear about your personal journey and your own work in sustainability. First of all, just tell us a little bit about 50 Shades Greener and what the company does.
Yeah, so 50 Shades Greener is a training and consultancy firm, and what we try and do is coach and train our clients on how to run greener businesses. And at the moment, this applies. We work with hotels, restaurants, visitor centres, and even smaller accommodation providers like bed and breakfast and hostels. And we simply teach them our methodology of measurement and reduction of your utilities, wastewater and energy, which will result in a reduction of the business carbon footprint and will also save the business money, which is something really important in today's climate.
And just to give us an illustration of the kind of impact that doing that audit can have, maybe you could just tell us about the impact that it's had on a couple of clients in particular.
Yes, so it really depends on what the current status of your business is, as in what is current environmental impact. I have seen hotels, clients of mine, that have managed to reduce their energy by over 50% in less than 6 months. And waste normally is a huge one. There is a statistic here in Ireland from the Environmental Protection Agency that 70% of waste in hospitality business is actually avoidable. So while this is an environmental, situation that is not sustainable for the future, it also means that businesses are spending a huge amount of money that they don't need to spend. So the savings vary. Depending on what their current systems and processes are. The smallest decrease on energy use I've seen with one of our programs is 20%, and the maximum has been about 70%. So it really depends on what stage the business is and what their current systems are, that they would be able to save more or less. But any kind of saving is obviously, a reduction of carbon footprint, a reduction of utilities that are unnecessary. So any kind of saving is a big win for any customer.
Yeah, and I guess that's what comes up for me as a question is because obviously you're about both being sustainable but saving money at the same time. Are people interested in more of one of those or both, or what? How do you approach people with that message?
It's a little bit of both, and to be honest, I've been doing this for over 3 years now, and the start was slow. In 2017, people really weren't listening as much as they are now. I think currently society is asking for these changes to happen, not just in the hotel or hospitality industry, but in all industries. So I feel now the hotels and restaurants feel more pressure to actually adopt these changes. But there is again a bit of everything. I met a client last week and he was mainly interested in sustainability and becoming a green business because he felt that was the right thing to do, because he wants to leave a greener future for his children. But then on the other hand, then the week before I met somebody else and they're just interested in cost savings and marketing, green marketing, to be honest, and, getting the name out there that they're a green business. So, for whatever either reasons they're doing it, the important thing is that more and more businesses are jumping into the green business format. And that's a win-win situation for everybody, for our customers, for the industry, and for the environment. So, it makes complete sense, regardless of the real motivation of people for doing this at the moment.
And just, when you talked before, you gave me an indication of the sums of money that going green, reducing your energy bills and saving money can give you every year. Just give us a sense of what kinds of savings people can make financially.
Well, the customer I was working with last week, their total energy bills for 1 year exceed €250,000. And we only started working with them 2 months ago, and we're well underway to reduce their energy use by about 30%. So 30% of €250,000.
What money?
It's well worth it. So yeah, again, depends on the size of the hotel. You'll have smaller hotels that may have energy bills that amount to about 50,000, 60,000 euros. But again, you can save about 20,000 of that quite easily. And just without even capital investment. Everything we teach doesn't ask you to invest any money until you've actually managed to save money, reduce your energy, and then invest those savings into larger projects. So it's, I mean, to me, it's always, since I first started working in green hospitality, this is, to me, it's a win-win situation. It's not the nice thing to do, it's the smart thing to do, to be honest. If I was a business owner with a hotel or a restaurant, it would be the first thing I would invest time and money on. But the perception is still out there that, because we talk about kind of the larger projects, the solar panels and changing heating systems, and, people feel that being a green business is going to cost a lot of money. And it's just that opposite, to be honest. You start with the small things that you can do right now, you generate some savings, then you reinvest them, and then you become greener and greener, and you save even more money.
Yeah, and what I loved from what you were talking about earlier when we were speaking was about behavioural change.
Yes.
And the simple savings that can come from behavioural change, like when you put on the oven and things like that. Just tell us about some small specific examples that can help to save money.
So this is kind of what I meant when I said, your savings will depend on what your current systems are. And I mean that by saying 99% of the hotel owners I meet on a weekly basis, they don't know what time their machines are being turned on or off. They've never taken the time to make those decisions themselves. So what's happening is that it's your junior staff, it's your team that is making those decisions. And to me, it's as dangerous as, allowing your junior waitress to decide when to go to the shop and spend money on your account. It's the exact same thing. And I always go back to a story of when I first started this whole green program myself in 2012. And it was a very, very simple thing that we did. I studied all of our equipment in the kitchen. I figure out how many kilowatt hours each piece of equipment used. And then with that data on hand, you're able to actually sit down and do a comprehensive a study of when some machines should be turned on and off. And then train your team in those new systems and procedures. A main oven regularly uses about 38 kilowatt hours. So if you were to turn off that oven for just 1 extra hour a day, you will save €2,000 in 1 year. And that's just the one machine in one department. And if you think of hotels, we have hotels with leisure centers where, some business owners still don't have pool covers. They don't know if they should drop their temperature slightly at nighttime or leave it always the same. They're just not aware of these kind of systems and processes that they can implement and train their team then, obviously, and change their behavior so that turning on an oven should really be only done when you need that oven to operate your day to day, not just turn it on because I've come into work and that's what I do. I guess it's a lot of it is just taking that decision making ability from your junior team, implement the systems and processes that work for you and that are energy efficient and waste efficient and water efficient. And that's how you generate the initial savings. And it's just upskilling the workforce. That's all. It's, you'd find a lot of the time hotel owners say, oh, the staff just won't do it. But when you actually sit them down, when you actually explain to them what you're trying to do, what you're trying to achieve, you're trying to reduce carbon footprint, instantly I see that all staff get behind green programs very, very quickly. So it's the business owner perception we need to change, not staff. I think the staff are, possibly a lot more aware now about sustainability and environmentally friendly actions than
That's wonderful. And just tell me a bit about Hotel Doolin, because I think if I remember rightly, it became a hotel that's actually giving back to the grid. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So we started the green program in Hotel Doolin back in 2012. And I was appointed as a new green manager just by surprise. One day I was the sales and marketing manager at the time, and I had never in my life heard about anything about green businesses or how to save energy. So it was, a bit daunting at the start. There wasn't as much help, I suppose, and articles as you can read now. But I attended a few workshops. I started reading blogs about it, and I realized that to be a green hotel, you needed to reduce your impact to the environment. And to me, then it became all about energy, waste, and water, because there are 3 pillars of sustainability that are really affected by hotel use. So that's when I started kind of saying, okay, so how can we reduce energy? So we started doing all those things like checking all our equipment, making an enough list, absorbing our waste. I spent weeks checking our bins every single day, so I could clearly identify what is it that we were putting in the bin. Because if you're trying to reduce your waste, first you need to know what that waste is. And again, you know, you ask any head chef or any hotel manager, and they just simply don't know. They don't know what they're putting in the bin because we're not monitoring it. So slowly but surely, within 2 years of the start of the green program, we had reduced our energy by 30%, our waste by 40%, and our water by 25%. And then we were allowed to reinvest those savings into further projects, like we changed our heating systems to air to water heat pumps. So we abolished all fossil fuels from the hotel. We harvest water with sunken tank under the hotel, and different projects like that. We also did a lot of corporate social responsibility. We started giving back a lot to our community. And last year, 2019, at the very end of the year, they were actually able to announce that they're the first carbon neutral hotel in Ireland. And they're not just carbon neutral, they're actually carbon positive, because they are offsetting. They've reduced their carbon footprint to as minimum as they could. And now they're offsetting the rest by planting trees in the local community gardens. So I think they're now planting something like 10 trees for every wedding they have at the hotel. And they are actually carbon positive in 2019. So that was a massive achievement. But since that announcement was made, obviously, my phone has been ringing non-stop. But I guess what many people don't understand is that this took 7 years for Hotel Doolan. This wasn't an overnight success. And you know, business owners are ringing saying, oh, I have a lot of land, I'll plant trees. You know, how many trees do I need to plant now? And my business will be carbon neutral. And it just doesn't work like that. You know, you first have to reduce it to as much as you can. You need to ditch fossil fuels. And then you can actually plant trees to offset the rest. So, you know, I always say a business to carbon neutrality is a journey of 3 to 5 years.
And that was a journey for you personally, wasn't it? Because if I've got this right, you know, you were given this task or this job, and it wasn't anything to do with what you were working on. And
yeah,
you had to learn and find your own way to get to that end point.
That's it. It was my general manager, who's also a good friend of mine, in 2012 came to work and said, I want to run the greenest hotel in Ireland, and you're going to be the best person to do that. So, you know, it was challenging, but I have to say, you know, my life changed completely. I mean, I've been a hotel manager myself for 20 years, and I firmly believed my career was the hospitality sector. I never thought I'd leave it, but after learning what I learned in Hotel Doolan, you know, I started thinking, God, if I can do this here with no budget given, why can't I teach other people to do the same? And I guess it took me a while to build the courage to leave a really good job in an industry that I love, to set up my own business. But I don't know, I never believe in callings or anything like that, but I did feel this need that if I knew these simple things, you know, why couldn't I teach other people to do the same? So I set on a mission in 2017. I left the hotel, I set up 50 Shades Greener, and my mission is to try and help green the hospitality industry worldwide. So I don't know if I'll get there. I don't know if the industry will help us get there. But whatever way, you know, I have probably had about 120 clients in the last 3 years through my online and my coaching programs. So, you know, I've already made a big dent on carbon footprint, I feel, you know, so it's a good area to be in. It's a feel-good industry for me anyways, because I really want the hospitality industry to be sustainable and to be something we can be proud of for years to come. And at the moment, tourism accounts for 10% of all the global carbon emissions, and you know, that's a lot, 10%. So I firmly do believe that in the coming years now, with our young generations as well growing up and becoming our customers, that if we don't actually make these changes, I think travel and tourism will end up being seen as like a dirty industry, nearly as much as the oil industry or the fashion industry. And I want to make sure that that can happen, I guess, you know, and we all need to create a bit of carbon footprint to leave, but it's completely unnecessary to use more energy than what you need to, or create more waste than what you need to. And they're the kind of things that we all need to just embed into our brains, I guess, and into our industries and our culture. That you can only use and produce, you know, what you need to leave, and do over with the rest. We don't need it.
So if I'm hearing you right, motivations were about an industry that you loved, and hospitality, and now it's really about how to make that industry sustainable, and how to keep the industry going in a world that's inevitably going to change.
Exactly. And, you know, even for people that don't believe in climate change, you know, there is a lot of people that don't believe in climate change, and that's fine. Everybody's entitled to have their beliefs. But if you, I mean, taking climate change out of the equation, you know, where do we think we're going to put all the waste that our society is creating? You know, and if 70% of waste created at your hotel or your restaurant can actually be abolished, why would you insist on not learning how to do that? You know, it's kind of, you know, regardless of climate change, I think we all have a, I guess, a duty to the world and to the generations we're going to leave behind to only produce the waste that we need to produce and only use the energy that we need to use. And same with water. So yeah, my personal beliefs, I guess, is it's down to do with what the right thing is, you know, and just don't waste your money and don't use more energy than you need to.
Yeah. And you mentioned the word courage a little bit earlier. Where do you get your courage from?
Uh, my husband is a really good help. I guess, you know, you just take it from within. You need to believe in what you're doing, and I firmly believe that what I have to teach is important. And that's, you know, I've had ups and downs, a lot of downs in the last 3 years, but you just have to keep going. If you believe in what you're doing, I think it's easier to have that courage, and also have, you know, a good support with your family and friends. That's very, very important, you know, especially when you're working from home and you're trying to build a company from scratch in an area that it really hasn't been developed that much. It's just about keep believing in what you believe and keep reminding yourself what you're doing.
I couldn't have put that any better myself, but I'm going to leave it there. But I want to thank you so much for
Thank you.
agreeing to chat with me today. Thank you so much, and yeah, good luck to the business. Sounds amazing.
Thank you, Ken.
All right, cheers.